8.7, function notation, okay? Right here, we have an equation that says y equals x plus 2. That's in function form, right? When it's y equals. It's also what form here that we've talked about?
Slope-intercept.
Slope-intercept, okay? There's going to be a third term for it. Okay, we're going to talk about this.
Function notation, that's the form.
Okay, yes, but let's talk about this. So when something's in function form, it's also in slope-intercept form, okay? But it can be written in something called function notation. When you see function notation, what is different between this equation and this equation?
The x is the
There's no y.
There's no y. The y takes place, what takes place of the y is that f of x. That's how you say this, f of x, okay? This stands for this. The function of x equals x plus 2, okay? Function of x.
So you're always going to have a 2 in the...
No, it's just an example. So this is the function of x, okay? What that means is this. If I plug numbers into this, okay, that means anywhere there's in the equation that there's an x, I'm plugging a number into it, I'm going to get an output, okay? My output is still my y. I can change this and this back and forth. They're interchangeable, okay? When it's in y equals form, it's in function form, or it's in slope-intercept form. When it's in f of x equals, it's in function notation, okay? That's the only difference. You still apply the same rules when you go to graph. You still do the same things. This is still my slope, whatever in front of here. This is still my y-intercept, okay? It's not going to change that. It's just changing what type of form I write something in. And it doesn't have to say f of x. It can say g of x. It can say h of x. It can say k of x. You can put any letter there. It doesn't matter. Okay? So, the first thing we need to talk about when something is in function notation. Okay? Right here, you have a function notation equation. Stop. Function notation. Nope, just leave it. You can get up later. F of x equals negative 3x plus 8. Okay? It says find f of x when x equals 5. What do you think I'm going to do? What, Carter?
Put 5 in both x's, both sorry, can't speak, both x spots.
Okay, so what's going to happen is I get this, right? I say f of 5. So when my function has 5 in it, okay, I have negative 3 times 5 plus 8. What's negative 3 times 5?
Negative 15.
Negative 15. And what's negative 15 plus 8? Jason, turn your body around and face the board. If I see you turn around again, cards marked, period. No discussion. Keep your body facing forward. Don't throw things. Hold on to it. Control your body. Okay, what's negative 15 plus 8?
Negative 7.
Negative 7. Okay, so my answer is negative 7. When I plug 5 in to my function, I get negative 7. Okay, so the solution for when I plug 5 in is negative 7. This is also a solution point. 5, negative 7. My x is 5, my y is negative 7. Okay, so I can still plot that point. Okay, if I want to. Right now it just asks for me to solve. What, Kate? Josh?
Okay.
You don't understand. What? Kate, I'm taking, it says x equals 5, yes? Do you follow that? So it says find what my function is when x equals 5. So I plug 5 in to where the x's are. Okay? So when my function has 5 plugged in, it equals negative 3 times 5 plus 8. I do normal algebra. Negative 3 times 5 is negative 15. I add 8 to it, I get negative 7. So when I plug in a 5, I get a solution of negative 7.
So you said x equals 3 and y equals negative 7.
No. What did I plug in for x?
5.
Yes, 5. And what did I get out for y? Josh? When you plug a 5 in, what do you get out? Craig, go sit down.
Get out the camera.
Negative 7. So my x is 5, my y is -7. Okay. Now, you can work it backwards too. Look, find x when my function f of x equals -22. So how do you think I'll set that up?
You would do. Try to get.
You're using the same equation up here.
Oh, my cat failed.
So what do you think I do? Josh, put the bottle down. Put your computer down. You don't need anything focused.
It would be
I'm not such a cat.
F X F7.
Okay, listen. This is my original equation. F of x, my function of x, equals -3x plus 8. I'm trying to find x, okay? I know that f of x equals -22. So what am I going to do with -22?
You're gonna plug it into X.
No, not to x, to what? What does it equal?
To F.
The f of x. So I'm going to take this equation that says f of x equals -3x plus 8. And this is going to get plugged into this whole place. Because it is f of x. What it's saying is, my answer is -22. Tell me what x has to be to get that answer. Okay? So I plug in -22 and I get -3x plus 8.
Wow.
How do you solve from there? CJ, turn your body around.
Divide by negative.
Not yet. What do I have to do before that, Kate?
Oh, you put the -22. Subtract.
You should try 8.
Subtract 8. Subtract 8. I want to get x by itself. What's -22 minus 8?
-30.
-30. And -30 equals -3x. Now what do I do, Carter?
You
Divide by
You divide by 3.
Good. And x equals.
-10.
Positive 10.
Positive 10. So what it's saying is, in order to get an answer of -22, x has to be 10. So my x is 10, my y is what? What was my y? -22. Because remember, f of x and y are interchangeable. Okay? They're the same thing. Okay?
Marshall.
So you have to be able to solve for the answer when they give you what x is, and you have to be able to solve for x when they give you the answer. Okay? Then we're going to come to graphing.
Shut up.
Marshall, give me your card. I'm done. Like, take it out physically right now, put it on your desk, and I will come and get it after this lesson. If I hear your name again from everyone, it's another card mark. I will give you 12 in one bell if you need to. Keep your mouth shut in my room and stop making nasty comments. I hear. I'm not stupid, and I can hear. You have two different graphs. We're going to graph two things on one. One in red, one in black. Okay? Let's focus on this. This says the function of x equals 3/4 x plus 1. What form is this in?
Function notation.
Function notation. Okay, what other form is it in?
Slope intercept.
Slope intercept. So if I want to graph this, can I graph it?
Yes.
Yes, because I have a slope and I have a y intercept. What is my y intercept?
As the X of F.
1.
No, it's
Yeah, it's 1. So I'm going to graph what point?
1.
0.
0, 1, right there. Okay. What is my slope?
3/4.
3 or 4. So what does that mean I do from here?
Go up
You go up 3 over 4.
Boom. I've graphed that equation. Okay? So like I said, nothing different with graphing. Kate, I start at my y-intercept. My y-intercept is right here. 1, 0. This tells me I go rising 3 and running 4. So I rise 1, 2, 3, go over 1, 2, 3, 4. That's my new point. I have my graph. If it's not a fraction and it's a whole number, like 2, you would go up 2 over 1. Because there's always a 1 under that number. Okay? Now, how do I graph this? What form is this equation in?
Slope intercept.
Slope intercept form, also what else? Function notation. Okay? What's my y-intercept?
4.
Nope.
Negative 4.
-4.
-4. So where do I start my graph?
0,
At
comma,
negative
-4.
0, comma, -4, right here. What's my slope?
2.
So what does that mean I'm doing from here?
Go up 2 over 1.
Up 2 over 1. Boom. Graph. Okay? Do you see how I'm telling you this is literally the same thing you've been doing for the last 2 days? Okay? The only thing is, you gotta be able in your brain to say, function notation form is the same thing as function form or slope intercept form. I just don't have a y. Okay? And the only other thing is we're plugging numbers in to solve. Now we're going to come and we're going to write a linear function of g. Remember how I said it can say g, h, k, f, whatever? Okay. So we still want to write it in function notation form. So instead of saying f of x, our equation is going to say g of x. Okay, because they told us it's in function of g. So it's going to say g of x equals something. Okay. How do you write an equation of a line? What do you need? What 2 things? Y-intercept and a slope. Okay, and normally it looks like this. Y equals mx plus b, yes? Okay, they said given that g of 0 equals 6 and g of 3 equals -6. Okay, we talked about this. What does this stand for right here? This 0 that is in those parentheses. What does it stand for? What's it taking place of?
Function of
X.
x.
So this is x. So when I plug in a 0, I get a what out? 6. What does 6 represent?
Y.
Your y. Okay? So this is my x, this is my y. This is my x, this is my y. So do I have 2 points on this line right now? Yes. I have one that is 0, 6, right? And I have one that is 3, -6. Do I have a y-intercept out of those 2?
Yes.
Which one?
0, comma, 6.
Good. So this is my y-intercept. So I can plug that in to say plus 6, right? mx plus 6. How do I find my slope? What card?
-6 minus 6 and then 3 minus 6.
Take your card out. I will mark it next. So I have -6 minus 6 over 3 minus 0. Because I have 2 points, I can set it up in change in y over change in x. What's -6 minus 6?
0.
No.
-12.
-12. And on bottom I have 3 minus 0, which gives me
3.
So what does my slope become?
-4.
And I'm going to plug this in for that m. So your equation should say g of x equals -4x plus 6. Okay.
So
We
have
did
to-
that yesterday.
So now I get it. So you
Yes.
solve.
E.
You don't solve on that one?
No, it just wanted an equation.
Why so
Write
you
a
don't solve?
linear function, which means write a equation of a line. Okay? In terms of g, meaning it should say g of x equals -4x plus 6. Josh, get your card out.
Oh Lord.
Yours is next.
Okay.
Put the bottle on the ground, get your card out. Okay. So those are all things we've done already. We're just applying them to function notation. Last thing, word problems. In 2001, a scientific balloon was launched near McMurdo Station in Antarctica. The balloon rose at a rate of about 500 feet per minute to a final altitude of 120,000 feet. Use function notation to write an equation giving the altitude of the balloon as a function of time. So if it's a function of time, that means it's going to say f of what?
X.
Well, or t because it's of time, okay? So I want to create an equation. Do you have an idea, Carter?
F.
Well, it's obviously going to be f of t.
Yep.
But, then it's going to be 500x.
Okay, 500x. You want to say 5? Why do you want to say 500x? Just tell me what you're thinking.
Per minute, so that to me In my brain, I guess I put it with an X.
Okay, then no, that's fine. So you want to say 500 t, but why did you choose 500 as your thing that goes in front, like your slope? Why did you choose that? I'm just asking. Tell me what you're thinking.
Well, because in the question it says 500 feet per minute.
It says that it.
Rose about.
So my rise over my
Right.
run. Does that make sense right there? My rise over my run. So you are correct. So it should say 500 t. Okay? So my function is f of t equals 500 t. Okay. But we also need,
Why is it?
no we don't.
No, why don't?
We're not graphing.
Because one, it doesn't give us a y-intercept. Okay? Where would my y-intercept technically be? If I started on the ground,
0 technically.
it's at 0, 0. Because think about this. It's not like a line that's just randomly drawn. It's a hot air balloon that starts at ground 0. And it rises up. Okay? So my y-intercept is 0, 0 because my starting point is on the ground. Okay? So technically, this has my y-intercept with it already because it would be plus what? What would be my, if my y-intercept is the ground, it would be plus what here?
Air.
0. So I don't have to put anything. This is my equation. That's all you had to do. Okay? So that's part A. Part B, how long did it take the balloon to reach its final altitude? What does that mean I'm doing?
Multiplying.
No.
It's
It'll be
oh, look
F
at the
of
problem.
T.
It's
F
120,000.
500 t.
Okay.
120,000.
E, what are you saying? It's 120,000. Where does that go? Where do I substitute that in for?
T.
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 FT.
S.
It's my final, so I substitute it in for my function. 120,000 equals 500t. Because it says, how long did it take? Which means I'm looking for time.
And then you divide.
Then I divide. What's 120,000 divided by 500?
450.
24.
Yeah, I said it. It's not 24.
Oh, okay.
240. 240.
240.
Okay, and what units is this in?
Feet.
Okay,
Uh,
if it's time, per what?
Minute.
Minute. So it's 240 minutes. Is 240 minutes.
You
Okay.
had how much left?
These are the things you are working on your homework. Like I said, tomorrow we will do more practice on all of this combined. Okay? So don't stress completely tonight if you struggle with some of it.
What's